Hello, wonderful world. It's me again, Soleira Green. And this time I'm with Cathy Baumann from the US. And Cathy and I met in November, I think it was. We probably were connected a little bit before that on Facebook, but we never really met. And it was so great because I said, introduce yourself. And Cathy says, I'm a brand new being. I'm like, so am I. High five. Like, there's we're few and far between like that, I think.
Yeah,
There's not many that would say that. Most people say,
yeah.
"Oh, I have all these lifetimes, or I've felt this, whatever."
Well, and then you said when we were doing our little activity that you connected with me in the ethers, and oh, that's where you came from. And I was like, whoa, she just tuned right into that. And so it was just really exciting and fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I say that, and also, I talk about, I use the term source often, but universe often as well, and use the term creator, and I think we mean very similar or the same thing, but we seem to meet in a place of we're here to make the world brighter, better, more wonderful, more awesome, etc., which fits nicely into that I've just changed you could call it branding on my podcast from outrageously evolving to the future, good, bad, or absolutely fabulous. And I know you and I think it's absolutely fabulous, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
And more every day.
yeah, so talk a little bit about what it's like being a new being and what you're here for and all of that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, well, I certainly never knew that up until, maybe around 2015. I had a normal life. Uh, I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin. I didn't like my childhood. I was rebellious. Through my teens and 20s, had been put on a lot of ADHD and antidepressants and anxiety meds. So I always had an underlying feeling of not being comfortable in my skin, for sure. And then I went on to try to be successful to overcome that and corporate life and getting married, having kids, big house, making a lot of money. And then, like many of us through this awakening, it's like time to get real, And so it was my mid to late 30s, really, when I had this uh, huge Kundalini awakening. And it was a few years before that that the lights really started to come on. I went through probably what most people would call like a nervous breakdown slash midlife crisis slash divorce, quitting your job. I was bedridden for the better part of 5 years. I mean, I
Wow.
hardly left my house, hardly worked. But I found my facilitator. So the facilitator that I worked with after working with dozens and dozens of different types of people, Eastern, Western, woo-woo, energy, taking courses. Oh, I'm going to become an energy worker now. When I started waking up, and just on and on, every corner of metaphysical and spiritual stuff. And then I found my facilitator, who's also a walk-in and who incarnated as a facet of creator, of source, uh, not a soul reincarnation type of deal.
Yeah.
And it's like the lights went on. Oh, this is why I'm here. I mean, just like that. Like I remember the
Yeah.
moment in the day and I went, that's what I'm here for. And after a couple years and we talked a little, my entry point was different than yours, but I went into silence, years of just, I'm not going to engage with these. I know it's not me. I don't have to really partake in any of these thoughts or stories or fears anymore. And then I had this big Kundalini awakening. It's almost 10 years ago now. And it's so funny because I experienced it as a near-death experience.
Ah,
And,
interesting.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I've ever really shared this anywhere, but I know for a fact that my body disintegrated when I
Wow.
collapsed into myself. And it's like all the light pours in, everything collapses, all the barriers and separation. But in that moment, time folded over backwards and just boop. And like I didn't command it to happen. even as creator, certainly as Cathy, I couldn't. But it just was the spontaneous unfoldment of creation, like what we call
Wow.
miracles that happen on their own accord.
Mm,
Uh, Probably based on my deep, genuine will and desire to know myself in this body on this planet. But anyway, I saw it's like in an instant seeing and knowing everything all at once, and it's really confusing and you can't really explain it. But whether it was the magnetics of the universe coming to Earth, the soul group I came with, who, what, where, nothing that I was before, which was like nothing,
yeah.
and where my life was headed and what was going on with all my relationships, all these ancestral understandings of everything from my biological family. I mean, on and on. And so that was, 9, 10 years ago. And it really took me probably another 5 years to fully own it and understand it. Because then I thought, no, I'm an old soul. I've been here a long time. And it takes you a while to understand this. But ultimately, I came here because that's what consciousness called for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, to light up the planet and
Yeah.
to not to fit in, but to be ourselves and to unapologetically just, here we are. This is the being that I am.
Yeah.
And so the funny thing is, in that time when that happened, I thought, oh, I've made it. This is so great. Like, woohoo, like I know who I am. It was the biggest relief. No fear, no worries of death. Like, this life was a grain of sand on a gazillion beaches in a gazillion universes. It was such a teeny thing, this teeny tiny little life. And it was like, oh, what a relief. There's all is well, everything's good. But then you come back into human life and your family, your friends, money. And so I thought it was like, I've made it. But the last 9 years has been just integrating that knowing into the
Mm,
words I speak, my relationships, my choice, and the work I do. So I work with others who are interested and will say passionate about really stepping into their creatorship and
yeah.
living as who they are.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. It's similar for me. It took a while. There was an initial moment of becoming something new and different. And that was 28 years ago, probably 29 years ago. And but I've learned to create myself. I've learned to not attach to identity so much. I don't care. I'm just here. I'm having a ball. I'm doing good stuff. I'm making the world better. And I find an ease with this evolutionary adventure that we're on.
Mhm.
And it's why I think, the future is so going to be so amazing because there are people like you and I and many, 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 many others like us around the planet. I tend to work with a lot of them, so I'm very privileged and thrilled
Mhm.
to do that. But there are people who they just know they're here to make the world better. And you can watch the news, and which I don't do too much anymore. I just kind of browse a few headlines and
Same. Yep.
just to keep my hand in a little bit. But it's not because it drops me. It's because you and I and others like us, I think we're sourcing a brand new future for the world. And
Yep.
our role is to live in that, to breathe in that, to create in that, to connect in that, to,
Yes. To
innovate
be
in
it.
that. Yeah, to live it completely. And it's
Mhm.
not sticking your hand in the sand or being blind, or people call it spiritual bypassing, which I think is a very
La
strange
la
term.
la la la. Yeah. Like,
It's not that at all. I got my eye on what's going on. I know what's going on. I choose to source a bright, brilliant, fabulous, absolutely fabulous new world for us all to live in. You
mhm.
too, right?
Yeah. I mean, as far as what I came here to do and what we're doing, it's like first and foremost, I came here to go deep into the density and wake up from it so I could have the experience and the understanding of it. Like I said, I mean, by my mid 30s, I was on medication for bipolar, ADHD, anxiety, depression, all at once. I'd go out and drink and party. It was losing it, right? But anybody who's been to that level of, I'll call it mental imbalance, where you're on all that medication and you're still losing it, you've been to the depths of some pretty tough stuff. So the whole
Yeah.
spiritual bypassing thing, I laugh at that today because I'm like, I have been there. I have looked at the
Yeah.
dragons and demons. Well, not, dragon that can be, we've talked about that, the monsters.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's about being able to go through it, to move through it, to see it for what it is. And then once you have that, um, once you've gone through it and you understand it, that's like the first step is becoming that. For me, it's joyful. It's like none
Yeah.
of this has any power over me. This is fabulous. Everything in the world that I thought could take me down, make me miserable, make this life terrible,
Yeah.
it has no power. And when you come through that, it's like, yeah, you can see that anybody else can come through that too. And of
Yeah.
course, just by being the example, you're already making the world a better place. But then people see it and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
I want some of that. And of
Yeah.
course, that's where it's going anyway, right?
Yeah, can
It's,
I just say, because years ago I was a voice for this. So to me, ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder, autism, all of that, they are marks of genius.
yes.
And it's only that they just don't fit into the normal world. So you're bored in education. So they drug people up or put this diagnosis on them as if there's something wrong, when actually you're genius hyper creators. Like, and I think if the world could just flip that whole thing on its head, I do know I just watched this wonderful detective show in Channel 4 on the UK called Patience, about an autistic girl who helps them solve crimes. And it was so beautifully done. And she was such a genius. She could see patterns and plots and puzzle solutions that others couldn't see, and she could solve a crime. And I was
Mhm.
like, yes.
Yeah, I always equated it to people that are very energetically sensitive, which oftentimes because they're
Yeah,
open, their filters aren't shut like this is reality.
yeah,
And it's just like friends, and I'm sure you know many people over the years like that absorb energies, the whole empath thing, and it's like it's a superpower when you
yeah,
learn how to harness it and you become
absolutely.
comfortable and you're okay with people. I don't have to fit in. I don't, you don't have to like what I do, who I am, how I dress, what I
Yeah,
say, my work. You can judge me all you want because unfortunately, you're only hurting yourself. It doesn't hurt
yeah.
the person that you're judging. It's self-inflicted punishment. So you might as well just enjoy yourself and be you.
Yeah, exactly. You talked about ultra sensitives, and that was something I went through too in the early stages of becoming who I am today. And I same thing as what you're saying. I moved it from a disability, like it would just knock you for six, feeling other people's feelings and pain and all that stuff, into a superpower. Like I think those people had an element of incredible connectedness, like that, how we're all interwoven and interconnected. And when you elevate that to a different level than just the pain frequency, you elevate it, it becomes a transformative and even transcendent alchemical superpower to be
I
able to
love
work with
that.
things.
I love that the way. So when I was on Solera's in calls, just November and December, I saw her and was like, oh, I read a few of your posts and it was just, I have to know this lady. Like it was just, I was drawn to you immensely. And so then when we were talking, it's like we speak the same exact language, but like two different dialects and two
Yeah.
different ways of going
Yeah.
into things and about things, but it's so, so similar.
Yeah.
Uh, I love how you talk about elevating and to get to that superpower, because one thing
Yeah.
that I do a lot, and I lead group events, and one of them is the breathe and feel, where people can just relax. And we go on these energy journeys and play with our abilities, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, I say, turn the dial. So there's emotion, there's sadness, grief. Okay, it's there. We're not going to fight it. We're not going to try to fix it. Just turn the dial and feel feel the love in all that, feel the beauty in it. There's light at the core of everything. So turning your
Beautifully said.
tuner kind of to the core, the light, the transformation, just like what's going on in the world. It's like
Yeah,
there's I know it's difficult. I've been to complete despair and, hopelessness, but coming through that gave me a confidence, and a knowingness and of course letting go of the identities and beliefs. We both know that you're basically free because there's nothing that can be taken from you
yeah.
when it's your presence, your beingness that is the most precious thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when I discovered that I could create who I wanted to be, that was like an epiphany to me because I always thought I had these genetics, I had this background, I had this life experience, I had this learning, this training, etc. That shapes an identity of who you are and how you think you are in the world. So at one point, it was so funny. I did a course years ago before I came to move to the UK. And their nickname for me was Little Black Cloud, if you can believe it or not.
I can't believe that. I can't.
But at that point, I was so serious and significant about
Uh,
everything and
about
really
yourself?
didn't, oh, everything, the world, me, everything. It was all so serious. And then, recently I've just found so much joy in life. I love life so much. I think it's one of the things we share, is that you come through all of that kind of thing, and you sit in a place where you just look. And I know there are terrible things that go on in the world, but you sit in a place where you see its beauty, you see its wonder, you have awe around life as it happens, and you can see ways through that, having lived it, having had
Yeah.
the epiphanies and the evolutionary leaps that we've had, and that's available to everybody. And one of the things for me that happens when people start into this process of discovering who they are, opening up to new levels of themselves, um, I think it's generally talked about in the world like it's a hard thing. And to some degree, it certainly was. You
Mhm.
might
It
admit that
depends how
too.
hard you hang on to your,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
But, to me, I hope that because people like you and I and others have been through it, that there's a lot of grace available for it now. And I
Yes.
think it can be much more gracious as we just let go of tight beliefs and that's one of the things I've learned. There are no stuck beliefs in me because I get new insights. I've discovered a whole new thing, right? And then a year later, there's not that this. There's something much more than that. Oh, there's something much more than that. And I've realized it's this constant enlightenment, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but understanding of life,
It's like
where
life is unfolding, and if you set those beliefs in and you anchor them in, it can't keep expanding and evolving
exactly.
and changing. So
Yeah,
it's like I always say I choose no belief. Now, I
me
might say,
too.
hey, I believe this is true right now, but I'm not anchoring that in. Like tomorrow I might wake up, be on a totally different planet. I don't want to limit anything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, you were talking about grief, loss, death, that kind of thing. And I think when you were also talking about like a million beaches on a million planets or something. And I kind of feel that way too. There was a point during this process of becoming who I am where I was like, oh, like I'm kind of excited about when I leave the planet, because I'll get to go and experience all these things. And now I'm kind of like, well, I'd like to hang around for a very long time because there's something very exciting going on here. We're in I think, the grandest, most epic, most legendary moment in the history of
Yes.
the world.
And I don't want to deny how difficult it is because even when I had the knowing of who I am or what I am or not, whatever, as close as you can get, but knowing that all is well and I'm covered and I've made it. I don't have any, there's no ending, there's no finish line or thing I have to do or achieve. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Uh, it was like years, my body. I mean, I can remember going to the mall and feeling like I'm going to collapse, feeling everybody's stuff. You're so wide open.
Yeah.
And so it's true, our physical bodies go through tremendous. I used to have seizures and different, like, all these different physical things, which I knew
Yeah.
the whole time it was happening. I was lucky enough to be fully connected, like, all right, this is
Fantastic.
going to happen for a day or two, and then you're going to be fine. And then, that stuff is inherently tough to go through. That's fine. There is a point, though, where it's like you can hang on to the identity and the beliefs for dear life, and it's just fighting yourself. It's fighting the inevitable. And for me, like when we talked about what's your purpose, like what are you here for? And when I tune into that with myself, the one thing is to have no judgment,
Ah.
to say to love and not to judge, or to be pure consciousness would be the absence of judgment,
Yeah.
full acceptance and allowance of everything.
Yeah.
And again, that can seem kind of Pollyanna-ish. If somebody just met me, it's like 20 years ago, I'd be at work digging somebody's plastic bags out of the trash. Don't throw that, and you got to recycle those, It's like, don't you care about the planet? And
Yeah.
now it's la la la, and that can seem like almost like we are ignoring the problems or whatever, but it's not. When
Yeah.
you do elevate and see things from that
Yeah.
viewpoint, know that your consciousness is the most powerful thing, and what you focus on grows. So if you focus
Absolutely.
on beauty and joy, you're sourcing more of that, as you call it, in the world. And
Yeah.
why wouldn't I want to bring more joy and beauty into the world for my kids, for my friends, for humanity?
Yeah.
So it is such a kind of like a 180, isn't it? A
Yeah.
opposite thing often than some people. So instead of working hard, like we've kind of talked
Yeah.
about that a little bit, at some point you kind of feel like I've done everything, I've looked at everything. I'm beating this dead horse now. It's like I've skinned the cat a million ways. I love kitties, my cat's right here, but
Yeah.
there's a million ways to skin a cat and I've done it all. And it's like, it's time to just shift to really enjoying life
Yeah.
and joy. And the remaining stuff comes up. It's gonna come up and be like, look at me, I'm still here, and okay, goodbye, you can go now. But it's complex, Otherwise there'd be one book and everyone would be totally
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. It's like for me, yes, we do recycle the plastic and try to do the best we can and et cetera, et cetera. But what happens as you elevate your consciousness, your conscious awareness, you get innovative in ways that you wouldn't even think of. So in my Memoration of Maestros group, where we do big consciousness breakthrough work,
Mhm.
like for example, when everyone's concerned about climate change and it's in the earth and all that stuff. So we unleash the miraculous of nature. And we make a relationship with nature and trees and forests, mycelium and oceans, and create a collective consciousness and then unleash its miraculousness even more so than it already is, because it already is quite miraculous, but we
Yeah.
really go for it. And what we saw with literally the same year, and not just here in the UK, but in multiple countries, super green and fields of yellow daffodils, just yellow through the whole field. And the daffodils were like little radiant suns, like instead of like, how
Mhm.
daffodils used to look a little floppy, they're now like, hello, you know. And to me, that's a sign of this miraculousness that is emerging through everything. And so we partner with the earth, with nature, with oceans, etc., and bring new things into being that help solve these challenges we're all facing.
Well, and that's you infusing your consciousness,
Yeah,
you're sourcing, you're saying, "Oh, I love this. I love nature," and you're sending it love, sending it light, infusing it with consciousness, but
Yeah.
When you realize that, which I liked about what you shared, because when people talk about praying and stuff, I kind of get the little bit of heebie-jeebies because a lot of times it's like, please, God, make this stop or make this happen. And there's a human will behind it,
Yeah.
which is, of course, biased. And you can have a million people, and they're all praying for something different, and all the energy is not harmonized because it's all fighting with each other, just kind of like a lot of humanity is.
Yeah.
But but the prayer, or what you're doing and what I do is I will bring source light through and send
Yeah.
it and deliver it and or amplify it or command that it come through whichever, however. And I feel it in my body, and so do you. And that's because our bodies can hold that
Yes.
vibration
Now
now.
they can. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then it's like, let the light do what the light does. And that's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and so you're infusing all this stuff with light, which is
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
best thing you can do, I
I'm the
think.
same way. I mean, I do think it's great that people, get together and pray for peace and unity and all that good stuff. But the real powerful creational way is to embody that original creator or the source of life or it's like we can embody and flow through us levels of power, mastery, genius, creation, etc. And then work with consciousness, which consciousness to me is like the soup we all live in. It's
Yep.
the sentient force of the universe, of life. And you partner with it, you become it, and you generatively create inside of it to create the future, the now that we're all looking for and wanting to live in. So, and it's quite exciting how innovative it becomes. And I just put a thing up yesterday when I'm going to do a call coming up in January on uh, the evolution of intelligence and genius flow.
Mm.
Because, like, for me, I think I always was relatively smart, all the way through my
I'm
lifetime.
sure.
Okay, not a genius, but okay.
Yeah.
And now I've written 19 books. They just flow through
Mhm.
me. I get ideas like wildfire. They just come like crazy one after another. I can tune into things and innovate like wildfire about stuff. I can see the unknown unfolding. I can recognize potential and possibilities emerging. It's a different kind of intelligence. It's not a brain logical memorization intelligence. It's a expansive, almost universal, creative, generative intelligence in some way. And I love it. It's really
Yeah.
exciting, actually.
Well, and you do create wonderful things, by the way. I read most of your number 19 book and
Oh,
I
thanks.
cruised through most of it one night and I was like, oh, this is so I love how it's so succinct and clear. So
Oh,
thank you.
thanks. Yeah, that's
Uh,
called the redesigning the future of global civilization. And then
mhm.
the subtitle I just came up with was sourcing our collective, what do they call it? Singularity.
Mm.
And it's
It's loaded
singularity.
with good stuff. It's just
Yeah.
packed with good, and
I'm
it's
just
short,
putting
which I
it
love. I'm
just
not
putting
a
it
big
into a
reader.
document to get it up on Amazon because it's in a flip book now, which anybody can read. So yeah, so I've
Okay.
got to put it on Amazon. So yeah, thanks. It was cool. It was cool to
Yeah,
write it and not realize like I wrote in the beginning, there's something coming through that I don't know yet, and it is the singularity. It's that moment when our intelligence, our epiphanies, our awareness, our ability to create supersedes normal human consciousness.
absolutely.
And I think that's where we are.
When it comes to what you're talking about, co-creating with consciousness. It's like when I do work with somebody in an event, I every day make me an instrument. I welcome the highest frequencies and tones that are in the highest and best good of all concerned of the whole to flow through this body and step out of the way. And it really is about getting the human identity, persona, bias out of the way. And it's like, so then when you are, let's just say I'm on an event and I'm, like you said, you're seeing what's happening, you're working with the energies. It's not like you go in and you try to imagine anything. It's the opposite. You're an open space to allow the things to come to you, and that's the co-creation where that higher intelligence says, okay,
Yeah.
here's what needs to be done, or here's go this way, or do this, or create that. And so
Yeah.
you have to be really receptive, and wide open versus, I want things this way or I want things that way. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
in order to
I'm less
let it happen.
directive of my own work now. And I would say I follow callings or urgings or there's something in me goes like relates to something or I don't relate to something. That's also a pointer. Like, I feel for people like the LA fires, what's going on, send good vibes, but don't have a calling to it yet. I may yet. And I think that's because I hold, well, it's terrible, hard, awful. There's things going on. Everything happens for a greater purpose, and we often can't see those things in the midst of it. And if we get too lost in the almost the disaster of it, we can't see the its potential unfurling. And it's kind of like that for me now. I kind of like even if I'm not called in the moment exactly to it, I know I will at the right moment in time go, boom, like there'll be something that will come from it that will be so amazing, so almost phoenix from the ashes kind of thing, something so breathtakingly beautiful and powerful for everyone involved that it kind of leaves me in a different place with these things now. It's fascinating, isn't it? So yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think, is there anything you would say to people listening about making the world bright, beautiful, making the future fa absolutely fabulous?
Absolutely. I'm gonna say it starts with you, to take care of yourself and your own, my way through all these years has been to 100% accept myself and to completely, we'll say, understand and know. And so I hope you listening already know this, but no judgment is true. It's just a perception. It's a
Yes.
created, invented. So whatever judgments about yourself, about life, uh, I encourage you to let that go for yourself, to feel the freedom and the relief and the self-acceptance, because acceptance, whether it's about everything you've ever done, what your life is now, uh, to just accept everything is a huge boost for your mind, your body. And when you start feeling that, like I did jujitsu for many years. I love the old martial arts where the energy, there's no force, no fight. When
Yeah.
you get really deep into this absence of judgment, which is what many call enlightenment, the absence of judgment, you're completely free. There's no need to have any bad feelings, any sore feeling. Now, emotions come and go, they leave, you feel them, and that's enough work. You don't need to be piling it on yourself. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do. And the typical common thing is, self-love, love yourself, but full on, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to accept yourself. You have the right to fully accept yourself and enjoy life. And getting down in the trenches, crying with the criers, like you're talking about the density. Old energy is seductive, it's addictive. People hang on to their sadness, it's like a comfortable old shoe. But you have the right to rise above it. And when you rise above it, you can help others who are ready to come out. So take care of yourself and
Yeah.
your energy and enjoy yourself as every chance you get.
Yeah, beautifully put. Yeah. And for me, it would be watch your vibrational frequency level. So you can tell when you drop, when you go up, and there's something about keeping the vibe high. Doesn't mean going out there somewhere or even meditating. I don't meditate or anything like that. I live it, I'm kind of like enjoying my life every minute sort of thing. But
You
But
are an
maybe,
inspiration for me as a meditator. Like I meditated a lot and I do a lot less now. But when you said, I don't try to find silence, I'm like, wow, this is like, I can feel that need to take silence separate
yeah,
just can eventually not even be a need.
yeah. I think it did way back when I was in stress in corporate life. That was like 50 years ago. It was a long time ago. But now I'm just so full of life. I'm a living, walking vibe creator. That's how I would say it. I was saying to my friend the other day that when I go into the shops, the stores here, and it's like I'm talking to the checkout people and, leaving them feeling fabulous and having fun and laughing and, it's just a different way to light up the world around you kind of thing. So, yeah.
Totally. I
So
get
I would
that.
say to people, keep your vibrational frequency high and have as much joy in life as you can. And if you find you're not, then do something you love, find something you can see beauty in, listen to great music or go dance or do what you love kind of thing. And it changes everything for us. I think it's a healthy flow through the body. So now I feel less like a body with constrictions all around me. I feel like a flow of genius, power, mastery, the universe, source working through me kind of thing, and me and it becoming, partners in a relationship kind of thing. So it's really an exciting way to live, very much so. So yeah. So there you
Wonderful.
go. That's Kathy and me. We think the future is absolutely fabulous, right?
Absolutely fabulous. That's my vote.
And we're at work on making it so. And we
Hmm.
invite everybody else to do the same, spend your days living in joy, creating wonder around you, being in awe of life and just see what happens when you do that. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, why not? It's your choice. Like you said, you get to create who you are and what your life is. You get to become what you choose to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks. It's
thank
been
you.
great talking with you.
Thank
Lots of
you.
love. Bye.